American Pistachio Growers would like to thank its members and sponsors for another successful American Pistachio Growers Pistachio Industry Annual Conference, and wish growers the very best for the 2023 season.
Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with Pacific Nut Producer Magazine, reporting to you here today with Marci Rossell, a global renowned economist. And we're grateful to be here at American Pistachio Growers Annual Conference. You're one of the keynote speakers here today. Shared some great insights about the global economy and how that can impact agriculture in the future, because agriculture in California is a global market, here. And so, based on some of the key points today from your presentation, I think you focused a lot on the concern for that people have for a recession, what could be coming in the future. For farmers, they're totally invested, right, in their ground, and they're not really that quick to be able to change. They can't just remove their trees real quick and go plant something else. It's a lot bigger of a process. So really navigating the future and looking towards the future, what would you have to share with them?
Sure. Well, I think a lot of farmers are worried about the Federal Reserve raising rates really, really quickly, much like maybe some of them experienced in the 1980s. And that fear that you might have a real hard landing for the global economy with a real big spike in interest rates, I think is a little bit overblown. There's a real difference with what's going on today and what happened in the 1980s. You see, in the 1980s, the Federal Reserve raised rates really quickly to combat inflation that had taken hold of the economy, not for 18 months like what we've had recently, but for really almost 10 years. So the main differences today are that, number one, the inflation hasn't been with us as long as it was in the 1980s, so you're probably not going to have to raise rates as much as you did back then. The other thing is that people's expectations of inflation have remained really well anchored. So people were expecting inflation of between 7 and 10% back in 1980. Today it's between 2.5% and on the high end 5%, which is a totally different situation. But the biggest difference is labor markets. Back in the 1980s, the unemployment rate had vacillated between 6% and 9% for about the last 5 years. This time around, we know labor markets are really, really tight. Not only is the unemployment rate low, but there's also 2 job openings for every unemployed worker, which means that as you look out about the possibility of a deep recession, I just don't think it's there the way that it was back the last time the Federal Reserve had this kind of inflation problem.
And that stat is remarkable. I mean, because people, it makes you want to pull your hair out, right? Because there's so much opportunity out there and so much need for employment. So I really thank you for taking the time with our pistachio industry here today. Be sure to read more about these things in Pacific Nut Producer Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.